Chelsea take on Manchester United. You've got one side who are going to be completely focused on Europa League and the other team that are completely focused on trying to get into the Champions League. Quakes, you've had a lot of opinions on Chelsea this season. Where are you at right now?
What do you mean? We've got the Conference League finals to concentrate on as well. We've got bigger fish to fry. But yeah, the concentration for Chelsea is finishing in this top five. Reports obviously emerged over the last couple of days that Enzo Maresca will stay at Chelsea regardless of if they finish in the top five or not, or if they win the Conference League or not. Which I suppose provides him the security and provides him with the backing to kind of enforce his philosophy and messaging to the players even stronger. But I also do believe that football's a results-dependent business. And if you look at where Chelsea were at the beginning of the season, in terms of fans putting Chelsea in the conversation for a title race and how the season kind of dissipated and petered out towards the end, I do think that Chelsea should be finishing in the top five. And I do think Chelsea will finish in the top five as well. I know Villa winning last week puts a spanner in the works, but I just feel like with Chelsea's final two fixtures being against Manchester United and Nottingham Forest, it's in Chelsea's hands. And if Chelsea manage to get the win in those games, and I feel like top five will be secured, then Enzo Maresca will deserve to stay beyond the summer. We also have to bear in mind the Club World Cup as well is completely, or right after the season finishes. So if Chelsea were to change managers, it logistically cause an issue there. So I understand why he would still be a Chelsea manager. But for me, this season has been a little bit underwhelming considering how it started.
Would you say, we've had this discussion before, Chelsea were obviously in a title race. I think all three of us at that point said they're not really in the title race. Like they're there because their form's been decent. Would you say that now where they're at is probably truthful to this team and therefore it's actually not as bad as what maybe some people think it is?
Yeah, I think they're about where they should be. I think the problem with Chelsea for a long time now is that there's been such a kind of knee-jerk culture there. It's been manager fails to deliver X, get rid of the manager. And actually, for me, if I look at what I believe to be Chelsea's problems over the last 5-6 years, I'm not looking at the managers. I'm looking at what's going on upstairs. I'm looking at some of the recruitment decisions. I'm looking at the decisions to spend big money on players that weren't ready, weren't up to it, weren't at the standard required. So I think with Enzo Maresca, I think he's had a hard ride this season because when the expectation went sky high, he was getting all the praise in the world. But I think most people realised that there was probably going to be a dip. But that didn't stop people really getting on his back when that dip happened. When actually what was happening is they were levelling out. They weren't declining. They were just levelling out and getting to a point where they should be with a young squad and a squad that's quite clearly got holes in it as well. We talk about the defence, we talk about the goalkeeper quite a lot. I think in the attack, they've got some very good players, but they've got some inconsistent ones as well. So I think this is about where Chelsea should be. I think they need to make the Champions League in order to push the project on. And if they can do that, that gives Enzo Maresca some credit in the bank. Not sure the Club World Cup is a big help, to be honest with you. I think for a manager like Maresca, who's got a very clear way of playing and a style, he'd have probably preferred to have some time to kind of work on pre-season, which is now going to be disrupted by that competition.
The one thing I would say about Chelsea in that regard, in terms of Enzo Maresca getting preparation time, in a lot of ways, getting preparation time in a tournament that, like Chelsea, I don't know if Chelsea are going to be going full throttle, let's say. So we'll get a lot of time training with the players. He's also, I think one thing I've seen with Chelsea this season, and I'm even looking at the potential predicted lineup for the next game, that front four still isn't settled. It still rotates. Obviously, Nicholas Jackson is suspended. And I still think Chelsea could probably do with a striker, an out-and-out goal scorer. And so therefore, I think maybe this Club World Cup might help him go, we still need a bit of this and we still need a bit of that. And at the end of this sort of Club World Cup period, they'll be in the window and they'll know exactly what they want. Because I'm still unsure like what Chelsea exactly need, bar a goalkeeper and centre-back.
So Chelsea need, like you mentioned, a goalkeeper for sure. That's been evident to Chelsea fans from the beginning of the season. Need a dominant centre-back. But give credit to Colwill and Chalobah. Colwill was very good in the loss against Newcastle. And Chalobah's been very good since he's come back to Chelsea from loan from Crystal Palace. But for me, I want an experienced, top-quality centre-back to play alongside either one of those. In midfield, if you can get Lavia or keep Lavia fit, and it's Lavia and Caicedo as a double pivot, that's one of the best midfielders in the league, in my opinion. Caicedo's been one of our best players this year, if not our best player. And Lavia coming back into this team, we saw it in the Liverpool game. He is one of the most exciting young midfielders in the country when fit. Striker's the big one, right? And Arteta was criticised in different quarters for his post-match comments after PSG, but he was right. These decisive games are won in the boxes. You need a good goalkeeper, you need a forward that can put the ball in the back of the net regularly. Chelsea don't have either of those things. So however you are, or however good you are in between those lines, if you haven't got a out-and-out goal scorer and a top-quality goalkeeper, you're getting nowhere in the Premier League. Arsenal know that in terms of striker. You fixed it with David Raya. You've seen the marked difference between Raya and Ramsdale, who was a good keeper at the time of Raya coming in. But Chelsea need a striker to put the ball back in the net regularly, and I think that should be the priority. Goalkeeper, we know that's an issue, but you can get a goalkeeper, you can maybe bring Petrovic back from Strasbourg, but a striker that can maybe follow in the lineage of Didier Drogba, the Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Diego Costa. That's what Chelsea need going forward.
Do you think if Chelsea get those players, they would be legit title contenders next season?
It's difficult to say because you need to take into consideration the rest of the league. Like, for example, I know this is going to sound like sour grapes coming from an Arsenal fan, but I don't think Arne Slot wins the Premier League in his first season if Arsenal don't drop off and Man City don't drop off. That's not to take anything away from Liverpool because their points return is pretty good, but they've had a long time where they've been cruising towards it, and that takes off the pressure, which often sees people crack. So I think it depends on how the rest of the league shapes up as to where Chelsea will be. I think their level is pretty good under Enzo Maresca, but it's not quite elite level. They're in that bracket below. Can they make that jump? Maybe with the signings that Kweku's mentioned there. But again, it's kind of dependent for me on what happens elsewhere.
I think we also have to talk about Manchester United, because I'm looking at this predicted 11 and I'm just thinking, they've obviously given up on the league, and I've seen lots of opinions online where people are saying like it's a disgrace that they've given up on the league. And I can't help but think, Manchester United are 16th in the league. The only reason they're not in the bottom three is because the bottom three are atrocious, unfortunately for them. Surely how are they getting away with this?
To me, it's crazy. And the narrative is the same with Tottenham as well. You've got two sides that have criminally underperformed in the Premier League, which is your bread and butter. And they are literally coasting by on the fact that they are in this European final.
Against each other,
which they would never be in if the competition didn't change in terms of the Champions League dropouts not going in there. Because let's be honest, if Champions League clubs went into this Europa League, those two would be nowhere near the final. Yeah. Right, so they've got a bit of a kind of get-out-of-jail-free card, both sides, both managers, both clubs. But you can understand why at this stage you're going to take your eye off the Premier League. Like, I know it's Manchester United and people will argue they're too big a club. There should be pride. There should be a desperation to perform and to deliver. But naturally, I just think naturally, even if you don't want to do it, just subconsciously, you will pull out of challenges. You will not run the risk of getting injured. You will go 75% rather than 100. That is going to happen when you're in their situation.
I think more light needs to be shed on how poor Manchester United have been. Me and you have been the biggest advocates of Ruben Amorim, and I still am. I'm not advocating for Manchester United to sack him because they're going down this path. They want to back him, and it's maybe right for them to back him and give him a full transfer window with his own players and see how he does next season. But let's get it straight, right? Manchester United finished third in 2023. Liverpool finished fifth in that season. This year, Liverpool won the league and Manchester United sits in 16th. In 2 years. I'm so sorry, but nobody can tell me, but this squad they're where they should be. No, it's not. They have severely underperformed. And I don't care that you got to the final of the Europa League. You're Manchester United. I've said it so many times, I'll say it again. When I was growing up, I thought Manchester United's nickname was champions because that's how dominant they were. They win league titles year after year after year. And now they are 16th in the Premier League after 36 games. Not acceptable. And I feel like there needs to be more discourse about it, right? Because if Amorim, say he had started the season and by December or January, Man United was 16th, he'd be sacked. Yeah. I remember the season Chelsea finished 12th. 3 managers' heads rolled that year. Thomas Tuchel got sacked at the beginning of the season, then Graham Potter got sacked, and then at the end of the season, they let go of Frank Lampard. Heads rolled because Chelsea finished 12th. Man United is 16th, can potentially finish 17th. I'm sorry, this is unacceptable.
I don't think he should be sacked now because we all knew what the situation was when he came in. But my God, is he on thin ice going into the new season because there has been zero improvement. Now, normally when a manager comes in, you might argue he needs time to get his philosophy across, to get his idea across, to overhaul the squad, to make it look more like he wants it to, right? But you still have a responsibility to improve what you have and to work more effectively with what you have. And they've got worse. They've somehow got worse. There's this system in place that a few months down the line, half of them still don't understand. And people will say, it's the personnel. You're a coach. Your job is to get that out of them. You need to get them on the right track at least. And if you feed the fans crumbs, they'll follow along behind you. but he's giving them nothing right now. And as much as he's going to gloss over it, I think, by winning the Europa League, because I think Man United will probably go on and win it, that is not acceptable at a club like Manchester
The problem
United.
he's going to have is if they don't win the Europa League. And it's the same for Ange as well at Spurs. I'm sure we'll have that conversation at some point. But if United don't win the Europa League, finish the season 16th, because they will, because they by the way these teams are lining up, Chelsea should win this game. Then what do they do? Because I'm sure the board are also going, like, win the Europa League, we're in the Champions League, like, we're fine. Don't win the Europa League, you're also then not in the Champions League. Yeah. Meaning you will have to, like, the board are going to have to go into their own pockets to spend
But also,
money.
to that point, can any of these sides handle the Champions League?
No, they definitely can't. But
The Champions League, right, is now a league where you're going to play 8 games.
Yeah.
Can either of these two squads of Tottenham and Man United, and we're talking Man United in this video, but can they even handle it? Do they even want it? I know they want the cash injection, but if you're Ruben Amorim, from a footballing point of view, do you really want that?
Well, that's the issue. Amorim's been super honest, and that's one thing I do respect. He's been super honest from day one, said this is going to take a long time. This team is not good enough. But the Champions League has now become this dangling carrot where teams just want to be in it because of the financial rewards. I was watching a documentary about Porto winning the Champions League a couple of days ago. That ain't happening again because you have to build up to it. You have to have a squad that's big enough or strong enough to contend. We've seen Arsenal, who I believe are one of the best teams in the world, how slowly building up to it. Last year got to quarterfinals, this year's the semi-finals, and then next year, Man United are going to get absolutely destroyed in the Champions League. They are not good enough they're barely good enough to be in the Premier League, let alone the Champions League. And so I look at this situation with Ruben Amorim, and again, if you ask Manchester United fans that go to games week in, week out, they are still fully behind him. And I respect that about clubs like Arsenal and Liverpool and Manchester United. They do give managers time, especially the match-going fans. But if after 10 or 11 games next season, this kind of form continues, then there has to be questions, because what Man United are set to do right now this summer is give the keys to the kingdom, the keys of the franchise, to a man that could potentially finish 17th and not win the trophy, not qualify for Europe. Like, who plays a very specific system, so you're going to have to buy him his players. I wouldn't like to be in that position.
And then if it doesn't work, and you do sack him 3-4 months into the season,
You're in the same
you've got
position.
all his players for his system, but no Ruben Amorim anymore.
That's why I do think it's impossible to say whether they're doing the right thing, but I think they've chosen their lane, and if they're going to back that, then I think they've got to back it all the way.
But do you have confidence they will? Because they brought in like Dan Ashworth and they got rid of him really quickly.
I think
they've made so many changes, even within the Ineos era, that I look at them and I think, okay, if you're going to take one direction, I kind of respect it. Yeah. If you're going to let it develop and you're going to let it kind of burn. But they're not. They've shown they won't do that. They've shown they'll pivot really quickly. So I think they're on a bad path, Manchester United.
All right. Well, let's get a score prediction for this game. Chelsea, United.
We've just sat here and slated Manchester United, but I'm never confident when Chelsea play them. We managed to beat them last year at Stamford Bridge, courtesy of a deflected last-minute Cole Palmer goal. I think it'll be a little bit more comfortable than that this time around, but Man United will cause Chelsea a few problems. I'm going for a 3-1 Chelsea win, but not extremely comfortable.
Chelsea 3, Manchester United 0 for me. I think United are going to make wholesale changes. It means a lot, this game, to Chelsea. And I've slated Manchester United. I can't see them getting themselves up for a game like this. Just can't.
I'll go 2-0 to Chelsea if Bruno doesn't play, 2-1 to Chelsea if Bruno plays, but I don't see United getting anything at all.